good evening, and happy 40th anniversary of the Friends, right? May 20th of 1983, a few guys got together and chartered the Friends of the East Broadtop in the state of Virginia. And here we are 40 years later. If you read the timber transfer, not the newest one that just came out, but the previous one, I had a quote from Charles Péguy, a French author, that said, 40 is a fearsome age. It is the age where we become what we are, right? And here we are, the Friends at 40, and we know what we are. We're 1,900 strong. We're raising over $200,000 a year. We're putting in 5,000 to 10,000 volunteer hours a year, restoring buildings, restoring freight cars, restoring passenger cars, allowing the EBT to operate, and keeping the buildings here to allow what has happened now to happen. We run a museum in Robertsdale, first-rate museum. Go visit. I'll also say I left out the archives. There's 1,500 things online now, and that's growing every day, so go visit the archives website. And we publish a great magazine. We have a great company store. And like I said, we have 1,900 members that care to help preserve, interpret, and restore the railroad. That is what we are at 40. What are we going to become in the next 40 years? I can't wait to find out with all of you. So thank you for coming out. We've got a couple other speakers here. Definitely I want to do some thank yous too. We thank you to Jonathan especially for helping us set all this up, making sure that the pavilions are all ready. We are the first to use these pavilions, so they're broken in by us. Making sure all the other facilities are here and organizing everything. So Jonathan, thank you. Thank you to the entire railroad staff. Thank you, Dave, Courtney, Nevin on the engine. We had Ryan and Melanie working the train with us, so thank you to them too, staying out late tonight after hours. Thank you also to Water's Edge, I'm sorry, caterers tonight. Did everybody enjoy the food? All right, thank you guys. All right, so I have a few people who are going to say a few words for us. First, we're going to start with the railroad itself, with the foundation. James Rosland here representing the railroad tonight.
Evening, everyone. I want to thank everybody for being out here tonight. I came to the East Broadtop Railroad about 2.5 years ago with no real understanding of what FEBT was or that they really existed. But over the last 2.5 years, I really am amazed and continue to be amazed at what the FEBT does in conjunction with the railroad. I've really come to the understanding that the EBT and the FEBT really are one unit and one team working with a goal to restore this railroad and save this heritage for the next generation. So on behalf of the East Broadtop Foundation, I want to thank everyone here with the Friends of East Broadtop, and including the people who couldn't be here this evening. Sincerely, thank you so much for all that you do and all that you give. Thank you.
All right, 40 years ago is a long time ago, right? How many of us were even alive in 1983, right? All right, I know. There's a lot of us here that were, right? But there's some of us that aren't, which is great. So the oldest roster I have for the Friends has 14 names on it. And 4 of them were here today. 3 of them are here with us under the pavilions tonight. We have Mr. Harry Sage, I believe, is sitting back here somewhere. Yep, he stood up there. Let's see, Dave Johnson, where are you? Over there, excellent. Hopefully, we'll give 16 a minute there to chime in. But hopefully many of you saw Lee Rainey was on the station platform with us there before we departed, but couldn't come out this evening with us. And then lastly, I'm going to ask Dean Melander to step up here to the microphone too and share a story or two about the creation of the Friends. Dean Melander, come on up.
Greetings, everybody. 40 years can seem like an eternity, or it can seem like yesterday. I became acquainted with the East Broadtop through model railroading way back in the 60s. MR, Model Railroader, published a photograph of an EBT Mike shoving a hopper car up the ramp to the coal dock. And I said, boy, that's kind of neat. And then I quickly found out that Model Railroader had published a whole series of East Broadtop plans about a year before I got involved in the hobby. And I said, wow, that's even neater. Now I can build some of this stuff. And I started to do that. I also found out that the railroad was running as a tourist operation, and got my parents to stop along the way on a vacation trip in 1962 to visit the EBT, and I've been coming up here ever since. As for the Friends, some of you may remember back in the 70s there was an organization that came about called FOG, Friends of the GG1, and they had gotten together to raise money to have one of the Pennsylvania Railroad GG1s restored and repainted into its original livery during the early Amtrak era. That sort of set a seed, and I'm not sure exactly whether it was Phil Paget or Rick Shoup, but somebody said, you know what, the East Broad Top could use a little help, we think. Of course, another motivating factor about that same time was Rainey and Kuiper's Bible, which, you know, sets forth the entirety of the East Broad Top's history and provides so much of the background information that we still use to help motivate and guide our restoration efforts. Come as it may, in the fall of 1982, Phil Paget, Rick Shoup, myself, Dave Johnson, and Bob Teets got together in Phil Paget's apartment in Washington, D.C. and said, let's see if we can figure out a way to come together and do something about this. Several meetings later, we got what we thought was a reasonable corporate viewpoint. Bob Teets was a lawyer in Virginia, and he did the paperwork to create us as a corporation, which is why we are a Virginia corporation, if anybody was really interested. Our goal has always been restoration and preservation of the railroad, whether it was collecting history, working on the railroad, supplying model kits to help spread the word among the modeling fraternity, acquiring property, or just providing sweat equity. Thank you very much, glass rattlers, boiler rats, all the rest of the folks who sweat, Friar Tuck, wherever you are in your crew. This all makes us whole and makes the railroad whole. We even, at one point, we thought we had the National Park Service interested in coming aboard on the preservation of the railroad, but finally the stars aligned with the foundation, and thank God we're here, and hopefully another 40 years, that light at the end of the tunnel is in fact a train, and I think it's going to Robertsdale. So thank you.
All right. Sorry, Jonathan's whispering in my ear there. So we'll wrap up. I just want to touch on, I think I left out a few things in who we are, right? We're 1,900 strong, so think about that. For each one of you that's here, there's 18 more of us out there, right? So there's 1,900 of us, approaching 2,000 rapidly. And obviously, as I mentioned, we restore all kinds of things, and definitely could always use more volunteers out here, so come on out. I'll also say we put out a great newsletter each month, so keep an eye on that. The fall reunion will be in October. I think it's the 6th, 7th, 8th of October. We'll probably do a little bit more celebration of the 40th then, and talk a little bit more about FEBT history that night, that weekend, which would be great. So then that's about all I have. So happy 40th, and thank you all for being here, and thank you for making the FEBT what it is today after 40 years.